Progress was not instant. Appetite suppression did not happen right away. I didn't know I could be a slow responder. Whether you're on or just thinking about starting a GLP-1 like Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, Zepbound, this video is for you. Hi everyone, welcome to Slow and Steady with Andy. I'm Andy, and in this video, I really wanted to share with you guys what it was like coming into this as someone starting a GLP-1, not really familiar with anything. So just to fill you in really quick about why I started, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes back in June of 2025, and my doctor recommended that I try Mounjaro. And up until that point, I was pretty negative about starting one of these types of medications. However, I decided to go ahead and give it a try after doing a little bit of my own research on it and really just trusting that my doctor knew what she was talking about and knew that this would be something that would work really well for me. So, with all of these GLP-1 medications, there is a starting dose, and that dose basically is just to get our bodies used to having this medication in our system. So, most likely, you will stay on that low beginner dose for the first 4 weeks. After those 4 weeks, typically, you will start the 5 milligram. I do know there are some people out there who stay on 2.5 for a very long time. Some people have stayed on it for their whole weight loss journey. I have learned just in listening to other people that everybody is a bit different. So you really just need to continue talking with your doctor as you are moving forward and deciding whether it's, time to increase the dose. So let's talk about food noise. I really didn't even know what people were talking about when I heard the terms food noise. And basically, if you're not familiar with those terms either, it is food thoughts. It's for those of us that think about food no matter if we are hungry or not. So it may be food thoughts because of boredom. We might be going through stress or something emotional and we're thinking about food, whatever it is that leads us to want to eat or, you know, indulge in eating when we're not hungry. That is food noise. It's that constant chatter that you're hearing like in your brain that let's eat something, basically. So, in learning about food noise, when I started this journey, I didn't think I had much food noise. I thought for myself, I'm like, okay, that's a great perk and all, but I don't have that. I don't have that problem. So that's not really what I'm looking forward to starting this. And the reason why I think that I came to this conclusion about myself early on was because I didn't notice much change in that first month on the 2.5 milligram dose. However, once I got into the 5 milligram dose and experienced food noise being turned off, food thoughts being turned off, I quickly realized that, oh wow, yeah, I definitely had a lot of food noise going on throughout my day. I work remote from home and I noticed that it's a very sedentary, honestly boring job. And I was finding that I wanted to go, into the kitchen and grab some sort of snack. But once those thoughts were shut down, it was it was crazy, really, to feel what normal feels like because not everybody has the food noise. And I had the big realization that I've really been fighting this mentally for years. So at that point, realizing, okay, here's this medication, it is turning off those thoughts. At that point, I really was just truly excited and glad that I made the decision to give this a chance. Pretty early on, when my doctor had brought up, that maybe I should try this medication. And of course, as most of us do, we go to social media to do a lot of our investigating and see what other people have to say about it. And there are a lot of people out there who were saying how they lost 40, 50 pounds in 2, 3, 4 months. And I was just like, wow, this is going to be great. You know, within like less than a year, I'm going to lose 130 pounds. That's my personal goal, is to lose a total of 130 to 140 pounds. So I was pretty, excited about that. And as I was getting into, let's say I'm on it now for 8 weeks, um, I think I lost a pound. And then here I am, I'm still on 5 milligram at this time. And I'm 3 months in, 4 months in, 4 months into this. And I lost 4 pounds. 4 pounds. I'm like, I must be failing. I'm doing something wrong. This is not working for me. I'm one of those people who it's going to be that fluke where this stuff is just not going to work for me. And so that was pretty discouraging. So I started, of course, going to social media or Googling and just looking more and more into this. It was there that I heard the next new term, slow responder. I had no clue what that meant. Slow responder. Okay. So looking into it, and there are fast responders and slow responders to GLP-1 medications. And I was one of the lucky ones that was a slow responder. And you know what, you guys, that's okay, because as I was talking to my doctor or venting to my doctor about the fact that I had only lost 4 pounds and this just must not be working, she was not feeling that same way. She was feeling very encouraged that I had lost 4 pounds. In talking to her and my dietitian, they felt very good about me being somebody who was going to lose weight more slowly, because slow and steady typically is longer term success. So I kind of was given a new frame of mind in how to think about this. And my doctor really didn't want me losing more than 1 pound to 1.5 pounds a week. So that is the healthy weight to lose. Anything more than that per week, then you're really probably losing muscle mass, and that is why your weight is dropping so fast, and that is not good, especially at 50 years old. You don't want to be losing muscle mass at this point, because then to get it back, it's even more challenging than somebody who's, maybe in their 20s or early 30s. So the takeaway for this point that I'm trying to share with you is that this is expectations versus reality. You're going to hear a lot out there about people using that shock value of, this is how much weight I lost on this medication. And I'm here to share with you that you can still be successful, but losing slowly, and don't be discouraged. Don't feel like you're failing, because really that is the best way to be losing weight. Now, as for the appetite suppression and the food noise relief, that all really started to happen probably within the second week of being on the 5 milligram dose. And when I started that 5 milligram dose, I felt more side effects. I started to get some nausea. For me, the nausea was never really extreme to where I felt like I cannot be on this medication. I feel like I'm just going to puke all the time. It wasn't that bad. It was just more of the type of nausea that was an unsettled stomach feeling, and definitely made me not want to eat, which, I'm like, okay, well, that's fine with me. Just adds to that appetite suppression aspect. So that was, week 5, week 6. on the 5 milligram. Eventually, the longer I was on the 5 milligram, which I was on the 5 milligram for 3 months, um, by month 2 and definitely month 3, I really hardly had any side effects at all. Before I forget, some of my early side effects overall from the 2.5 up through the first month of the 5 milligram, I would have some slight headaches within the first couple days of the injection. Usually I would wake up with a little bit of a headache. And once I started getting some hydration in, that headache would go away. So it never really was a big deal. I never really had many of the other side effects. I didn't deal with like constipation at all. Something that may have helped me not experience the constipation is that as soon as I started the Mounjaro, the 2.5, I started taking a magnesium supplement, specifically magnesium glycinate 200 milligram. I did ask my doctor about it, and she said, yeah, that'll be fine. This is a good time for me to mention that I am not a medical professional. I am just somebody a normal person who is on this medication to help control my type 2 diabetes and to hopefully be losing weight while doing it. So definitely talk to your doctor before you start taking any added supplements or anything like that. If you watch a lot of content on social media, you are going to hear people throwing in all kinds of added things to help you. Me personally, I'm just going to stick with the actual medication and a daily vitamin and my magnesium unless my doctor tells me to take anything else. But there's a lot of trend stuff going on out there, and I would be very careful before you start taking anything in addition to your prescribed dose of this medication. Now that I am in the 7.5 milligram dose, I really have hardly any side effects at all as far as like the nausea, the headaches. I don't have any of that. The only thing I really have anymore is on day 2 after the injection, I get hit with fatigue, and it really only lasts that day. And then for the rest of the week, I'm fine. So far, 7.5 milligram has been just the perfect one for me. My food noise is just totally been shut off. Appetite suppression is amazing. And of course, not having any of the uncomfortable side effects. So, this is really great. So, I'm hoping to be on this dose for a really long time. That would be great. I do want to mention that last week, which was my week 6 on 7.5 milligram, I was dealing with some diarrhea issues. And after going through that week, now it's like been almost 2 weeks since I had that. I don't think that had anything to do with the medication. I think I had some sort of stomach bug going on, but I wanted to bring it up in case you had went back or you have already watched that video and are wondering why I didn't mention that, because for some people that is a side effect. That has not been a side effect that I have personally experienced. If you do start this medication and you find that you are a slow responder, I just want to point out that weight loss is not the only victory on this medication. Even though in that first 4 months I only lost 4 pounds, the non scale victories that I had were amazing. I just want to point out that weight loss is not the only victory on this medication. For me, in the first 4 months when I only lost 4 pounds, I had so many amazing benefits. So, number one, mainly, my A1C had went down at that point to, I think it went down to 5.6 or 5.7. When I first started this, my A1C was reading in at 7.8, 7.9, I think was my highest. So 5.6. Now, currently on week 7 of the 7.5 milligram, my A1C last time I went to the doctor 2, 3 weeks ago was 5.2. So that's an amazing victory. Also, I have high blood pressure, and within the first couple of months, I was able to cut my blood pressure medication in half, and now I'm having like really good readings. So I feel like probably within the next 4 or 5 months, I will be able to cut this dose in half or maybe be off of it altogether. So that is amazing. Another benefit that I had personally was I have Meniere's disease, which makes you feel dizzy or off balance a lot. And I was dealing with it like on a daily basis. I was having a lot of issues with that. So when I would go out anywhere in like public where I knew I was going to have to walk longer distances, like grocery store or wherever, I walked with a cane just because it helped me feel more secure with my balance. And you guys, I have very, very rarely do I experience any of those feelings anymore. I cannot tell you how freeing that feels. I was dealing with that. Um, I was dealing with those side effects from the Meniere's pretty strong for the past 2 to 3 years. And it was really depressing me, honestly. So that's an amazing benefit that it has had on my life. Another thing is inflammation. I've noticed the inflammation in my body has went down significantly. I was having trouble just even bending down to get something out of my cupboards. I my knees were so my knees were in so much pain that I couldn't get back up, and now I am like I feel like 25-year-old me doing stuff around the house, so much more active just in everyday life, doing just so much more, and that has been very freeing for me as well. So don't be discouraged if you are not seeing that weight loss quickly. Also, there are studies out there, you can research it, where people who went through the testing while on these medications, they found, of course, that there were some people who were fast responders, some people who were slow responders. But interestingly enough, what they also found was eventually those people ended up being at the same level. So the fast responders started losing weight more slowly, and the slow responders started catching up. And ultimately, by the end of those trials, everyone was around the same weight loss. I really feel like for me, it took a while. My body, I had metabolic syndrome. I had a lot of things that needed to heal and start like working more normal. And it just took longer for me. And now that I feel like my body has normalized, I am losing about a pound every week. So that is pretty awesome. If you are going to be starting one of these medications moving into the new year, here are just some GLP-1 nutrition tips that worked for me personally. What helped me early on, and not just early on, still, is focusing on protein and fiber. The protein is really important because it helps with hunger control, and it also helps protect your muscles. Muscle mass, really, really important. And the fiber helps with the digestion support. I feel like because I stay focused on fiber, that's probably why I have not had dealt with the constipation or the diarrhea. So some of my go-tos, I'm a creature of habit when it comes to the foods I'm eating. And my go-tos are things like eggs. I love the Chobani 20-gram protein drink, yogurt drinks. I love those. Those are so good. Also, things like I might make a weekly run to Sam's Club and get a couple of rotisserie chickens just to help keep things simple, especially if I know I'm going to have a busy week. Having the foods on hand, prepped, ready to go, really helped me out. So, rotisserie chicken, they're super cheap at Sam's Club. They're yummy, and I'll get them home and I will, take off all the meat and everything. And then I can have that throughout the week for either sandwiches, or I'll just heat it up and have some steamed broccoli with it. Broccoli is my big go-to when it comes to fiber. keep frozen broccoli florets here at all times because I just love steamed broccoli. Sprinkle a little bit of like ranch seasoning powder on it, a little bit of butter. Delicious. So chicken and some broccoli, and I'm good to go. Really good, solid protein fiber meal. Something else that's just super important, not just in the beginning of your journey, but throughout, is to make sure you're staying hydrated. So they say that the way you figure out how many ounces of water you should have per day is to take your weight and divide it in half, and then that's how many ounces you should have. I have one of those. No, not the expensive Stanley cup. I have like the cheap Walmart Ozark version of one of those 40-ounce big mugs. I get through usually 3 of them a day, sometimes more, especially over the summertime. So keep yourself hydrated. Not only does that help with appetite control, but it just helps your body overall. Your body needs to be hydrated. One of the last things that I feel like is really important to share with you, and something I totally wish I knew before I started, was how to plan your first injection day. I started my first injection on a Tuesday. Of course, you take the medication the same day every week around the same time, they tell you. So here we are every Tuesday. And then as I got further along, when I started the 5 milligram and started to have like more of the fatigue going on, I'm like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So Thursday, I'm like super tired and working. It was carrying over a bit into Friday. And that was just too hard for me with an already boring job. And now I have fatigue. I was having to take a nap on my lunch half-hour break because I couldn't get through the day. So what I ended up doing was I ended up transitioning over to taking my injections on Thursdays. And I find that works really perfect for me because I take the injection Thursday around 4:30, 5 o'clock. And then Friday, I'm usually not having any side effects at all. And then Saturday, if the fatigue hits, it's Saturday. I can take a nap if I need to. But usually there's so much going on in my life with busyness between, just stuff at home, church, all the activities, that even if I'm fatigued, I'm not bored, so I'm able to just push through the fatigue where, with my job, very hard. So carefully think about when to have your injection day be every week. And if you already have started, it is perfectly fine to change your injection day. The way I did it was I knew I wanted to move mine to Thursday. So I took my injection on a Tuesday. The next week, I took it on a Wednesday instead. I like pushed through an extra day, took it on the Wednesday. And then the next week after that, I was on Thursdays. So you can just follow that pattern. Just add 1 day every week to your injection day until you get to the day that you want it to be. I hope that everything I talked about in this video are going to help you on your journey, whether you are starting a GLP-1 medication for the new year or you're somebody who was already on it. And I just want to remind you that for those of us who struggle with weight loss, that it's easy for a lot of people to say just have more willpower, but if you're somebody like me who realizes that I deal with food noise and that even if I'm following all the things, I still struggle with losing weight, it's not just willpower. It's a lot of it has to do with the biology of our body. And that is what these GLP-1 medications like Mounjaro or Zepbound are helping people do, is to overcome those issues with our body and to help our body just regulate and function more normally to allow us to lose weight. And if you are on this already, or if you are going to be starting any of these GLP-1 medications, I just want to remind you that slow weight loss doesn't mean you're broken. If you're somebody who is type 2 diabetic and has been considering trying one of these medications and your doctor has already given you that go ahead that you are a good candidate, I totally encourage you to give it a chance because it has really, really helped regulate my blood sugar. It's great. Between the Mounjaro and my Dexcom, um, it has just made life so much easier taking control of my type 2 diabetes. And if you made it to the end of this video, definitely comment down below if you're somebody who's considering starting or if you are somebody who was already on a GLP-1 medication. Tell me a little bit about your journey. I would love to hear from you. And you guys remember that slow and steady still wins. See you in the next video.
I've seen a lot
Bye.
of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I've changed for the better this time. I thought I would never be fine. I strive just to say I'm alright, and for the first time in a long time I'm alright. I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays,